To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejados de las
This here's
puertas.
a wild ride in the wilderness.
When invisibility trapped doors change.
So today on Miles from Main Street, we are talking a little Disneyland. We're going to be talking about the downtown Disney area at Disneyland. But first, a message from Brian Lewis.
I love how you set me up with this, but first, as if I'm the voiceover ad guy.
And now the voiceover ad guy. Take it away, Brian.
I want the deal like who was the guy on The Price is Right that always did all the voiceover stuff? I want that deal. Yeah, but you know, as we're getting into here, subscribe, share, and review, please. We would love to get your reviews out on Apple Podcast, but most importantly, hit that subscribe button and share it with a friend and let them know you're having so much fun listening to our show. We would love to have them along as well. As Mikhailo mentioned, it's time to talk Disneyland. I came up with this today as I was driving home, thinking I'd kind of like to talk a little Disneyland, and I feel like Disneyland's gotten a little more popular this year, don't you think, Mikhailo?
Well, I know I've been watching more Disneyland content. I mean, ever since our trip, and just kind of with like the 100th anniversary and everything kind of going around that. I don't know why. Maybe that's just kind of why things are popping up more. But I've definitely been watching more Disneyland content than I ever have really in a year.
I have too. I used to just kind of ignore it and like, oh, I'm never gonna go there, right? But now I've been like, because we went there, and I've been watching more. But I feel like there's more live streamers popping up out there. There's more of the Disney World people that we listen to and watch have been going out there. Like, there's more attention being paid out there now. So I thought we should probably talk about a little bit and, you know, do the same thing everyone else is doing.
Yeah. let's jump off the bridge with everybody else.
Yeah. But you know, we needed to do a few shout outs here. And the first one is to Lawrence Wilson. He gave us a little bit of feedback out on Facebook. Thank you, Lawrence, for reaching out. He says, good episode. Being part of the community, I definitely understand using YouTube to beat the Disney blues. I also like your outlook that you look for people that are interactive and upbeat and positive. Have a magical day. And that was left in response to your episode from last week, Mikhailo. Thanks for taking the helm on that.
Yeah, that was a fun episode, and I'm glad that people out there enjoyed me just kind of talking and just like emptying my brain about Disney media and the types of media that you can take in with the Disney socials.
Would you call that a brain dump?
A little bit. It was funny when I started that episode. I was like, oh my god, like what am I going to talk about? Like, am I going to have enough to talk about? And like as soon as I started rolling, it just like all started to like pour out of my mouth. So, it was a lot of fun.
I really enjoyed listening to it. So I'm glad you got to do it. The other thing that we need to talk about is the Haunted Mansion movie, because we went and did this event and we haven't even been together since then to be able to talk about it. It was awesome. I loved the movie. What did you think?
Yeah, I enjoyed the movie a lot. I've actually now seen it twice. Once with Brian and once with my wife. And both times I thought it was really great. And it was actually the time that Kristen and I saw it together was also her second time. And she actually said that the first time she watched it, she was like actually decently scared with a couple things. So she said it was a little less scary watching it the second time, obviously because she knows what's going to happen. But yeah, I I enjoyed it. I felt like there was a lot of really good actors in it that did a good job. Um, yeah, I thought overall it was a great film. It kind of sucks that it had to go up against Oppenheimer and Barbie, like the
Yeah.
two like biggest movies so far of the year. Um, but yeah, I thought it was great. Um, and I mean I love Haunted Mansion, so I was gonna like it anyways. But definitely worth a watch.
And I know I've talked to people that have not gone to see it, but they really do want to see it. So hopefully it'll have a long life in the theater where it's just doing good enough business that they're still making money, and enough people can see it. Otherwise, when it finally hits Disney Plus, maybe it'll take off then. Hocus Pocus is a big thing now, and it never was when it first was released.
Hmm.
So, we could get lucky and have this movie just become a cult classic, as they like to call them.
And I feel like it's harder nowadays. Like your movie has to like blow up like right away in theaters, or else like I mean right now we're kind of seeing Elemental as like a slow burn. It wasn't hugely popular the first like 2 weeks, but it's like been churning along now, and doing
Hmm.
pretty decently well. So I feel like it's definitely harder in that respect to like actually have that happen. Like I feel like you don't really see that often where a movie just kind of chugs along and is like does consistently well at the box office. It's either like a huge hit and does amazing, or it just like sputters out just because of the movie viewing um tendencies that people have nowadays.
And, a lot of what I've been hearing is like, it's not people my age that
Mhm.
are going to the theaters anymore. They'd rather wait for it to be on DVD or streaming or whatever it may be. And it's more the 18 to 35-year-olds that are hitting the theaters a lot. And I'm thinking it's because they don't have the kids. But I don't know. Like they're the ones. And I've found that age bracket has really been driving a lot of the trends. Not to get off the rails too much here, but I recently got a record player, and I had one in college, but didn't really care that I had one. Um, I am really enjoying having it now, and I know that the college crowd 10 to 15 years ago started driving that a lot. So, um, I think that age group is really kind of setting some of the trends for us, for whatever that's worth.
Mhm.
Um, but anyway, back to the event. I thought it was awesome that we were able to get some friends to come out and watch it with us. Christina and Lee, thank you so much for coming out. It was great seeing you. They're good friends that I get to see every so often. They came out as well. And Stuart came down from the UP with his kids, and it was so nice to be able to meet him in person. I hope in the future we can do more of these events. And, I would love to hear from you guys. I always am thinking bigger, and I think a convention of some sort needs to happen in Wisconsin. If anybody has connections and the wherewithal to help me do something like that, let me know. Reach out. Maybe we can get something started with that. I think that'd be a lot of fun. It's something I feel is missing in a state that has a lot of Disney lovers. Um, so anyway, I thought it was great that we were able to get this little event going. And it was great, seeing and meeting all these people. So thank you for everyone that was able to make it. And even if you considered trying to make it, I really appreciate that. And hopefully next time you're able to make it.
So like off the rails a little bit more, because apparently that's what this episode's going to be. Speaking about a convention here in Wisconsin that seems to have like pretty decent Disney love representation, I feel like anytime, and this has come up a couple times when I know something's going to get released, or I know um, there's Disney merch coming out somewhere, is I get there and it's almost like completely picked clean. And that's, I mean, one of two things. One, it's just everyone loves Disney, or two, there's just a crap ton of Disney fans here in Madison. So I completely echo what Brian has to say. Like, I feel like there is a good amount of us around, and we all just need to get together and hang out um, in a Disney setting, because I have a feeling that there's a lot of us out there.
I think there are two. And two of my examples would be, I buy comics as well, and I was in the comic shop looking at some of the recent Disney releases, and they told me, oh, the Disney fans grabbed those immediately. They were sold out within an hour of us putting them out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, that's pretty crazy. I didn't realize that was going on in Green Bay. The other thing is, we did free Disney trivia a few weeks ago out at the Titletown park that the Packers run, and they had over 50 teams for two separate events that same night. And teams are made up of people, of more than one person at these things. So there were a lot of people there for Disney trivia.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, there's a lot of us out there. We need to just get them together.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, yeah, if someone has connections or an interest in helping with something like that, please reach out. We'd love to start looking at how we would go about building a convention like that. Finally, I just want to shout out Amanda. It was nice to meet you in person at the store the other day. I know you've been following and listening for quite some time, and so it was a very nice to meet you. And also nice Dooney purse you had. That was pretty awesome.
Another off the rails. One more, Brian, is I was just at the Hallmark store. And our Hallmark store has Packer lounge flies.
Oh yeah, I've seen those. Kind of cool.
Yeah.
I
Anyways.
feel like you can get a lounge fly for anything. Go ahead.
That's true. Anyways, moving on. Brian, do you have any more shout outs for us?
No, that exhausts the list.
Okay, perfect. Downtown Disney in Disneyland. So, I feel like I know this area pretty decently well. Because of I mean, like, sometimes I'll just be in California. And
As you do.
you're just in California. And most of the time, if I'm like around Anaheim, I'm gonna find my way out to Disneyland. This has happened a couple times with the marching band that I teach. They were like, their hotel was blocks away from Disneyland, like just on the road that Disneyland is on. So I ended up hanging out at downtown Disney quite a bit on that trip. And then when Brian and I actually were able to go to Disneyland together, and when I attended the NAMM show out in Anaheim, which is right across the street from Disneyland. And so most of the time, if I'm not gonna go to that park, which actually doesn't happen all that often, I've hung out at downtown Disney way more than I've actually gone into the parks. But yeah, it's a pretty cool place. And there are similar aspects to Disney Springs. It's definitely much smaller, but it's interesting because it kind of comprises like all like the whole Disney property. Like, you've got the two parks there, you've got parking areas here and there, but like other than that, you've got downtown Disney, which is the shopping center and the couple hotels that they have there.
Yeah, and I like how it's self-contained still. And like you said, it's bookended by Disneyland Hotel on one end, and you've got basically bus drop-off and security on the other end, which is right, like the promenade for the two parks. The entrances to the two parks is right there. So you have a nice area to wander around. They'll have some nightlife in there, lots of shopping, lots of restaurants. Um, you know, it's like you said, it's like Disney Springs, just smaller. And they have a lot of unique items to California as well. So I guess, to talk a little bit about what it is and what they have, what's one of the things that you really enjoy stopping into while you're there?
Well, this is I'm gonna talk about two. I'm gonna talk about the first one, and then I'm gonna talk about the second one. That's how lists work. Um, so the first one is, and then Brian, this I might be taking yours, but I love the Star Wars gift shop that's there. It's just this
Yes.
like random gift shop um, that's at downtown Disney, and it's just themed like crazy, like Star Wars. Like it looks like this gift shop should be in a park. It's insane. But that's always really cool to go in there and check out
Hmm.
all of the Disney merch or
Yes.
the Star Wars merch that they have in there. Um, that's just really it's really just the theming for me, like how good the theming is at that um, gift shop. And then my second one, honestly, is the Grand Californian, and we'll get into this because technically this is like in downtown Disney, but they've basically built downtown, like they've basically built hotel rooms on top of stores in downtown Disney for the Grand Californian, um, which is pretty cool. And there's like there are there, I think there's a couple little areas that you can kind of like get into the Grand Californian, like straight from downtown Disney. So that's always fun. I always find myself just kind of making my way into that lobby and like hanging out there a little bit whenever I'm there. One of my favorite spots is there's a fire at the Grand Californian, and there's just like a bunch of rocking chairs in front of the fire.
The
It's like,
fireplace, yeah.
yeah, it's so cool. There were the first time I went with Kristen, we just kind of like hung out on the side. But when I went for Nam, there was like almost nobody hanging out in front of that fire. So I just like sat there like for an hour and just like chilled. And I think I was FaceTiming Kristen at the time too. So
Awesome. I would grab a drink and chill there if I had the opportunity.
mhm.
But yeah, I would completely agree that Star Wars gift shop, and this is down on the end by Disneyland. It's almost one of the last things you hit before the Disneyland Hotel.
Mhm.
And yeah, I was very much looking forward to going there before we had even gotten there. And like you said, it's themed like crazy. Like there's actually a speeder that's like Ray's speeder out front. And it's all, themed around it and everything. It looks terrific. And the entrance looks like a rebel base, and the merchandise inside doesn't, like, they aren't skimping on the merchandise. Like they've got everything
Mhm.
in there. Um the Her Universe collection that had just come out for the 45th anniversary of the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. um they had that in there, and it was so fun to be able to take a look at it and really decide if I'd want it, instead of being in a park and be like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. And like, because any of the shopping we did in the parks, I was just kind of in and out really quick. We didn't really spend the kind of time that I got to spend when we were in this gift shop. So the other nice thing, which they don't do this in World anymore, they had the legacy lightsabers in this store. You didn't have to go into Disneyland to get them. And I thought that was really nice that you could go there. So, I don't think it's as hot of a commodity in Disneyland as it is in Disney World, but I know at Disney World there's always a line to go look at the legacy lightsabers, and you don't have to do that at the Disneyland Resort. You can go over to this gift shop and check them out there, and there won't be a line or anything. So yeah, that was definitely one of them that I really enjoyed. But of course, World of Disney always has to be at the top of the list. They do a really good job in this one as well. It looks a lot like the one that's in Florida. It's slightly smaller. Still got everything in there that you would imagine a World of Disney has. And we did get to spend some time looking in there as well, and had a good time. It was funny. We had all this stuff in our hands that we were going to buy. And by the time we got to the register, everyone's like, I don't really need this. It was the first night of our trip. And when everyone was like, what am I going to find yet? So like, I think I bought my Oswald Nuemo, and I think Mia was going to get some candy, and she may have even put that back.
Wow.
So it was just kind of an interesting thing that we did. But yeah, so those are my two favorites. What are some places within downtown Disney, though, that still stand out to you as something that should be mentioned?
Well, I just wanted to touch on the World of Disney a little bit, because for some reason I know that store inside and out because I've gone so many times now.
Sure.
And it also has a special place in my heart. I just wanted to mention this because that's where I went straight to after the Badgers lost the Rose Bowl when I went to that game.
Oh,
So
no.
as soon as the Badgers lost the Rose Bowl, I made myself feel better by going to the World of Disney. I will always remember that day.
Well, you didn't have to buy champion merch, so you might as well spend the money there, right?
Exactly.
I thought we should point out Marceline Confectionery, which is over near that entrance to the Grand Californian, right in the middle of downtown Disney.
Mhm.
And I really had a good time in there. You guys bought the Castle cookie jar there.
Yes. Yep, we bought that there, and then we actually shipped it just from there. So we were happy that we were able to do that. And I mean, every single time we've shipped something from one of the parks, it's been real easy to do. So we were happy about that.
Nice. Yeah, I really liked it. I think it's a great place to stop. They've got all of the typical treats that you might find in Disneyland as well. I know they had a churro toffee there, which, if you're not having a churro toffee at Disneyland, did you really go? I took one. I had one when we were at DCA, and then I took one on the plane, and it was incredible. I would do anything for someone to send me a churro toffee right now. um, I I really liked going in there. They do have a little bit of a number system to make sure everyone's getting in line, and we weren't buying anything that night again because it was just getting started for our trip. But it was nice because 3 or 4 times I had a cast member say, "Do you need a number? Are you gonna be buying something?" And so they really work hard to make sure people are taking part of the line and not getting missed. So um, a good place to stop on your way out, maybe as you're finishing your trip. But yeah, that was one that I wanted to point out. Another one would be the Black Tap milkshake place. My kids got milkshakes from there, and those are over the top milkshakes that are much larger than two people can eat for just one of them. Like, it's ridiculous. So um go there for a meal and get a milkshake, and yeah, you just need a milkshake for the meal.
Yeah, I haven't done a lot of eating in downtown Disney. Um, I mean that confectionery. I've been to that confectionery a couple times, and the churro toffee is amazing. Um, I think I had a caramel apple there that was really good. The only thing about caramel apples is that there's just so much to it.
I know.
Like caramel, they're so huge.
It's like a project.
Yes.
And it's almost like a project that feels like homework. Like,
It really becomes work after a while. You're
yeah.
like, okay, I've gotten through all the fun stuff. Like,
Yeah, I've looked at them and I've gone, oh, they look so good. And then I think about what it takes to eat them and just kind of pass them over. But
But another one that I can talk about, though, that I will give extremely high praise, and again, this is technically downtown Disney, is Napa Rose, and really just kind of any of the dining options out at Grand Californian, literally steps away from downtown Disney, which is kind of why I'm lumping it all in there. But just being able to go to Napa Rose and the type of service that we had and the type of food that we had, it was honestly some of the best food I've ever had at a restaurant in my life. It was just insane. I've said it before. If I could take the ambiance of California Grill and take the food from Napa Rose and put that both together, that would be like the perfect dining experience for me.
I think you should do that. Find a way to do it, and I'll come eat there.
Napa
I want to
Grill.
get. I want to come back to Napa Grill. I like it. I want to come back to Ralph Brennan's Jazz Kitchen, but since we're talking about the Grand Californian, we had our meal when you were at Napa Rose. We were eating at the Grand Californian Cafe, I think it's called. I can't
Mm-hmm.
something like that. It's basically next to the pool, and they also have a more table service type of place. But we sat in the lounge, and we had these awesome couches with a coffee table. So I was able to sit on a couch with my wife. The kids were sitting on a couch across from us, and they came and served us just like you would anywhere. There was a duo playing music, and we were sitting like right in front of them, and it was awesome because they weren't super loud, so we could still talk to each other, and we could hear them, we could interact with them a little bit. uh, the ambiance there was just so relaxed, and we got a pizza and a couple of appetizers, and the food was really good and so relaxing after a long day of travel and walking around downtown Disney. It was so nice to be able to just sit down and relax and have that ambiance. And it was just a walk up. Like, we didn't even have to wait. They just like, yeah, we got a table, and we just, go sit down. It was terrific.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was kind of the plan from the beginning, was just kind of find somewhere to eat. And that's where we ended
Mhm.
up. So,
Cool.
but to get more into the Grand California, like you said, that entrance is right there in the middle of downtown Disney. It takes a little bit to get back to the main uh, lobby area, but once you're in there, they've got that fireplace area to sit off to the side. They've got there was a display of like candy or something of Disney 100
Mhm.
characters. They were working on that when we were there. That was really neat to see those. I couldn't believe the amount of work they had done on that. Um, and like, it's got that Pacific Northwest feel that the Wilderness Lodge might have, but it's on a grander scale, I
Mhm.
think. It's dark in there in a lot of places,
Yeah.
um, which can be off-putting at times, but I think it's really a kind of a calming effect as well. They had a band playing in there because it was February, so they were celebrating Black History Month. And so that celebration piece of it was having a band in there. Um, the pool looked really nice. Do you have anything to add that you experienced beyond Napa Rose? Because I'm just rambling now.
I mean, yeah, I love the like the main lobby, how open it is. It is, I believe it was designed by the same guy that designed I think both Grand Floridian and Wilderness Lodge, and or no, it was Animal Kingdom Lodge and Wilderness Lodge. It was the same architect um, that designed those two. It is quite a bit smaller just because of kind of like space limitation. Um, and one of the coolest things I like about the Grand Californian is the fact that you literally have rooms looking into downtown Disney. Like if you look at like the ground level is shops and everything, and then you just start looking up and you start seeing hotel rooms. So you could easily have a hotel room just like overlooking like all of these really cool things in downtown Disney. Um, and yeah, that's something I really like. It's definitely it's a bucket list for me. um, I would love to be able to go on vacation to Disneyland and stay at the Grand Californian, especially because the Grand Californian actually has an entrance to California Adventure um, right
Yes,
in the hotel.
I wanted to make sure we mentioned that because
Mm-hmm.
there are also hotel rooms there, I believe, so you can look into the park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's only exclusive to I was going to say residents, but people staying guests of the Grand Californian are the only
Mm-hmm.
ones that are to use it. So yeah, I think that's really neat that you can get up and walk right into a park.
And that's something that I don't know if he was the one that had that idea, but that's something that Mr. Tony Baxter wanted to have happen at I believe that was um, Disneyland Paris, possibly. I know that I can't remember exactly what um, project he was working on, where he was talking about how he wanted hotel rooms that just like went right into a park. But that's definitely something that he wanted to have happen at some point. So maybe he did. Maybe that was kind of his idea with the Grand Californian.
And that's something they do in I always confuse Hong Kong and Japan. I think it's in Hong Kong that you can stay in a hotel that's inside of the park.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, Grand Californian I think is a beautiful hotel, great place to stay. Um, but I did say I wanted to get back to Ralph Brennan's Jazz Kitchen, which is extremely popular. Um, we didn't get to go there; they were working on it when we were there. But we had the beignets when we were at Disneyland, and they were okay. And I know, like, I have seen people eat these things on TV and they just rave about them. And everybody online raves about them. I wasn't that impressed. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Kristen cared that much for him either. And I know she's a big fan of New Orleans.
Yeah, I feel like we enjoy the beignets at Port Orleans River or Port Orleans French Quarter a lot better than we enjoyed the ones at Disneyland.
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention Ralph Brennan's Jazz Kitchen because everybody has also said the ones there are going to be much, much better than what you may get in Disneyland. So something to think about and they do have a window there that you can order them separately. So you don't have to have a table at that restaurant. So but a lot of great places to go there. There is a lot of work being done to revamp it right now. So there's a lot more coming. How about Disneyland Hotel? I really enjoyed.
I've been itching to talk about Disneyland Hotel. That's exactly where I was just about to point us to.
Yeah, I really enjoyed walking around that hotel
Hmm.
much more than the Grand Californian.
Yeah, the thing that Kristen and I enjoyed, one, I mean, for me, I enjoyed the history, just kind of like knowing some of the history behind the Disneyland Hotel and how it
Yes.
was the original hotel that was supposed to open with Disneyland, and kind of like the acquisition of it, and Disney didn't originally own it and stuff like that,
Hmm.
and all of the different um, iterations of like what the Disneyland Hotel was. I mean, at one point it was like its own theme park. It was crazy. It had like an entire boat landing at one point and stuff like that.
Like a
So
marina.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so there's been so many things that the Disneyland Hotel has been. But the thing that Kristen and I loved was and it's funny, we just kind of happened upon this. But we were at the gift shop at Disneyland Hotel, and we just kind of like walked out of the gift shop. Kristen had to go to the bathroom, and I just like turned a corner in like walking into a different part of the Disneyland Hotel, and it was just like a wall of history. And this is just like all of the history that I've heard of, um, all of this history that like I've read about, and it was just like all on these walls. And we spent a good like 45 minutes to an hour just kind of like walking through that whole area and going like thing to thing and looking at all of this history that's just like on the walls. It ends with um uh I don't know if it was an original Autopia car or what, but there's just like an Autopia car um sitting. Kristen and I both got into it, and this was kind of funny. I don't remember what we knew this cast member from, if she had like checked us out somewhere, but she was like walking into the hotel and saw us both sitting in it, and she was like, "Oh, do you want me to take your picture?" And we were like, "Yes, of course, thank you." And so I think she had checked us out at World of Disney, and then took our picture sitting in one of the cars. So that was funny. But yeah, that just like all of the history that's all in there. Plus, the main lobby has now it's been redone, but it has this whole huge mural of all of these old timey Disney things in the front, which is uh, just awesome. Just all of the history that is there at the Disneyland Hotel. It's almost got as much history as Disneyland itself. It's just all very cool to me.
Yes, I had a lot of that in my head as we were walking around too. I kind of forgot that the center where the pool and where Trader Sam's is, like I kind of forgot that that was all water at one point,
Mm-hmm.
where the boat marina was there and everything. The monorail does come into the hotel here as well. I just wanted to throw that out there quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I missed that whole history stuff that you had seen, and I'm so upset that I missed it.
Yes. And it was funny when that happened, we were trying to find you after we found all of this. And I think you guys had like run off somewhere, either like running after one of your kids or something. Cause we looked at stuff for a little while and we were like, where's Brian for this? And so I think we tried to track you down, but you guys were already like out somewhere.
Well, I know I was out in the entrance. If you were coming there by car, you would come to the, portico share or whatever, and so I was out there taking pictures of some statues and the great big Disney 100 rug. And then we were taking pictures of, I believe this is the mural you're talking about. That's right when you come in the main door. Is
Mm-hmm.
that what you were talking about? Yeah.
Yep.
So at the holidays they'll change that over to like a haunted mansion or a Christmas theme of some sort, but at that time they were celebrating the 100th, so they had this Alice comedies,
Mm-hmm.
like great big display, and we got some awesome pictures in front of it. And the kids kept saying, what is this? And I'm going, it's the Alice comedies, people, come on. But I mean, Alice Comedies, if you don't know, is the very first thing that uh, Walt was working on in Kansas City, and that's the short that he had taken on the train to California with him and sold. Or he had the contract when he left, and that's kind of what got the footing for the Disney Brothers company, and you know, which now is this giant conglomerate. But um, so I really enjoyed seeing that, and I think that might have been when you guys were off looking at other history things,
Mm-hmm.
and so another thing I need to get back to. That's the other thing after this trip that we took. I keep watching videos and I'm like, man, I wish I would have had more time there. Man, I wish I would have had more time over there. Man, how did I miss that?
Mm-hmm.
um so yeah, the Disneyland Hotel is definitely a place that we want to stay. For sure.
Yeah, us too. And I feel like that may happen before Grand Californian. But uh, one last thing that I want to talk about the Disneyland Hotel um, is Trader Sam's. We the first night we got there was the night that we did Napa Rose and everything, and we had um, a reservation for Trader Sam's, and it was just on like we had already had an amazing night at that point, and it was like just the best way to just like top off like one of the best nights that we had. And it was so fun. The only complaint I have is that apparently the Trader Sam's in Disney World has more interactive drinks, whereas the Trader Sam's in Disneyland really only has like, I think it's like only 3 or 4 of the drinks actually have like reactions in the bar.
And that may be, but also Disneyland's been getting specialty mugs and Disney World has not.
Mm.
So, they have that going for them. They just released a Hatbox Ghost mug that looks really cool. They did a Jose one a few weeks ago, and yeah, I would love to get my hands on those as
Mm.
well. So, they might not have the interactive drinks, but they have a lot more specialty mugs that you can pick up for your collection. I'm sure you have a large mug collection, don't you?
I have a lot of uh uh what are they called? What do we call them? Resort mugs. I have a lot of resort mugs, but we do have coffee mugs here and there too. We have a whole display of Disney coffee mugs that we have. So yeah.
I think the last thing we should probably mention, beyond downtown Disney and the Disneyland Hotel and the Grand Californian, is that there's this large promenade between the two gates of the parks. And if you are having a downtown Disney day, or you're just hanging out and you don't have tickets and you're there at fireworks time, you can go into this promenade and watch fireworks from there. You might be able to catch some of the music. They don't play the music out there, I don't believe. I was only walking through there once when the fireworks were going off, but a lot of people congregate there and there's plenty of room to spread out. So, that's a great way to end a night if you're not in a park that day. It's
Yeah,
easy.
that's something I've never done. And honestly, Brian, when you were talking about this, I thought you were going to talk about the fact that you can walk into that promenade and sadly look into both parks that you may not be able to go to. I've done that many a time. Just look into Disneyland and look into California Adventure and just know that I'm not there to go into either of these parks.
I kind of did that our first night when we walked in the first time. I walked over to the gate at Disneyland and kind of stood at the gate in the center and looked in and was like, okay, this is it. Like, I get to be there tomorrow. Like, and the kids are going, come on, Dad, we gotta go do this. Like, come on, Dad. I'm like, no, like, do you guys realize like what this is? And give me a moment, like.
I think it's also weird because in Disneyland that's normal. You can walk up to the gates of Disneyland and not be there to go into Disneyland. But like in World, if you make it to the gates at Magic Kingdom, you have made the trek and you're about to go into Magic Kingdom.
Yes.
Like there's no going from the TTC all the way around the loop and then getting off at that stop and just standing there and being like, well, okay, this was cool. Like like once you get to that area, you're going into the park. So I think
Yes.
that's what was weird for me, is that like this is typically where I am about to go into a Disney park, and I've never really had that where I'm just around a Disney park. I'm not
Yeah.
actually there to go into a Disney park.
You know, when we stayed at the Contemporary a few years ago, I had said something about like walking over and just kind of looking at Magic Kingdom on a day that I might not be going in, because it was so easy to do from there. My
Mhm.
wife's like, why would you do that? Why would you even want to do that? It's like, because I can, you know, because if I'm staying at an All-Star or Pop Century or anywhere other than on the monorail, like, you're not going to do that. Like you said, it's a trek to get there.
Mhm.
So anyway, Disneyland was a great bit of fun, and I've been reminiscing on it lately, been wanting to get back. So thanks for indulging me on this topic this time around, Mikhailo.
Yeah, I think something Disneyland that we can talk about in the future is I've been watching Wondrous Journeys a couple times a week now because of Coda Bear the Explorer. If you haven't checked out Coda Bear the Explorer, check him out. He's a live streamer that does Disneyland stuff. Um, and I really enjoy that music. I think the Wondrous Journeys music is very cool.
Yes.
And so maybe we can talk a little Wondrous Journeys and Happily Ever After.
That would be fun. I think we should do that. I like that idea.
Mhm.
I'm actually going to put that out to you, the listener. If you want to get your thoughts on Wondrous Journeys or Happily Ever After, let us know out on Facebook or on Instagram. You'll find us at Miles from Main Street, and let us know your thoughts on either of those fireworks shows. We'd love to hear them, and we'll use it on the show.
Yeah, definitely. But like we always say, some live close.
But others don't.
So let's talk about it. We'll see you next time on Miles from Main Street.